All right, so we are going to review for this test. We're not going to hit like all 20 questions. I mean, we've spent a lot of time on the graphing and the slopes and the y-intercepts and all that kind of stuff. We've already reviewed that, so I'm not going to cover that stuff. Okay, there is some stuff on the test that is that we haven't talked about in a really long time. All right, so if you don't remember it, tonight is the night. It's the last chance you have to study, so let's make sure that you do that. We have it. All right, I'll take it. Oh, you need that code? All right, take your jacket off. It's out of dress code. All right, let's do this. Here's the first thing. It may look slightly different than this, okay, but it's basically the same thing. I'm going to number it just a little different than I normally do. I'm just going to go down like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. All right, you're going to have to remember the names for these combination of angles. Do you remember doing this? Lines cut by transversal? All right. So I'm just making this up. Again, this is not exactly the way it is on the test, but it's very, very similar. If you know how to do the stuff that we're going to do right now, you should be able to do the stuff on the test. So I'm going to ask you, what do they say? Identify each pairs of angles. And then I give you a list of all the possibilities. All right, so that's kind of nice. I mean, I don't have to do that, but I did on this. Okay, so what are our possibilities? Well, one is corresponding angles. Do you remember that? Yeah. Okay, alternate, what? Exterior. Well, what was the first one then? Yeah, we did interior first. Then we did exterior. Exterior. And then, yeah, consecutive. You could call them same side interior. It's fine. But I give you the list, so I want you to use this word, though, for this. It's consecutive interior angles. I give this to you, okay? I give you the list of these 4 possibilities. So you basically have a 25% chance, even if you just guessed. All right, so that's not too bad. But let's not rely on a 25% chance. What's a good percentage chance that you would put some money on? I would put 100%. It's the only time I would ever bet. If I knew 100% sure that was going to be true, it's the only time I'd ever put money on anything. All right? So let's be 100% sure. All right? That's my whole point. So what if I said angle, let's say 1 and angle 8? Okay? Identify them. Which ones? Which one of these right here is angle 1 and angle 8? Say it again. Exterior. Not just exterior, but what? Alternate exterior. That's correct. Look, here's angle 1. Here's angle 8. Okay, they're on opposite sides of the transversal, so they're alternate, right? And they're exterior. They're on the outside of these 2 lines right here. So they're alternate exterior angles. All right? So you got one right. Now again, this is slightly different than what's going to be on the test. It's not going to be exactly 1 and 8. And I don't mark on the test the angles exactly the way I've done here, but the whole idea is the same. All right, let's do. Let's find something else. Let's go angle 2 and angle 7. Okay, identify angle 2 and angle 7. Very good. You got it. They're on opposite sides of the transversal. One's up top here. One's down here. They're in between those 2 lines. I don't know their parallel lines right now, but they're between those 2 lines, so they're interior. So these are alternate. They're alternate interior angles. All right, so 2 and 7 are alternate interior angles. This just kind of leads up to the next set of problems. Let's say those 2 lines were parallel. I don't know right now, but let's say they were parallel to each other. What could I say about angles 2 and 7? They're not just alternate interior angles, but what's true about alternate interior angles when I have parallel lines? They're negative reciprocals? What? Are you just throwing words out? You're not even considering what we're doing here, okay? Negative reciprocals got nothing to do with any of this. Chris, what'd you say? They're equal to each other. They're exactly equal to each other. All right, angle 2 and angle 7 are equal to each other. The first ones I did, 1 and 8, if these lines were parallel to each other, okay? If they're parallel, what's true about 1 and 8? They're also equal to each other. Let's not say the same, because look, this angle 1 is way up here. They're two different angles. They're not the same angle, but they are what? Equal to each other. They're equal. They're not the same. The same means that this angle should be up here facing that way. Angle 8 is a different angle than angle 1. Would you agree? Look, here's angle 1, all the stuff in here. Here's angle 8, all the stuff in here. Are they the same angle? No, they're not the same, but they are what? Equal to each other, all right? Or you can say congruent since we're in geometry. Okay, I know I'm being real picky on that. I know what you mean when you say the same, but I just got to make sure. All right, so let's do another one. Again, I'm just making this off the top of my head. So let's say angle 2 and angle 3. What's true about angle 2 and angle 3? Are they? They're consecutive interior angles, okay? They're consecutive interior angles, which means it's one after another. I wish they would use same-side interior angles. That's what I used to teach out of a different book. But this book says consecutive interior angles. But they're interior, they're in between the two lines, and they are called consecutive interior angles. So we write down consecutive interior angles. These should be very, very easy to do on the test. You should just be able to look at it and say, oh yeah, alternate interior. Oh yeah, alternate exterior, or whatever it is, okay? And then just write down the answer. I give you the list of names, okay? You don't even have to memorize the list of names. I give them to you right here, right? So it should be pretty easy. I'm going to put a 3B. There's only 3 of these on the test. But I'm going to do this one just so we know, because there's 4 things here. So let's find some corresponding angles. In fact, if I said angle 1, what angle is corresponding to angle 1? Angle 3, very good. How do I know they're corresponding? Remember I do this? See that group of 4 angles up here and this group of 4 angles down here? Which one does angle 1 correspond to? Which one down here is in the same spot as angle 1 is right there? Angle 3 is, isn't it? Everybody see that? So angle 1 and angle 3 are in the same spot. They correspond to each other. Okay? Or I kind of made that mistake. I just kind of got on you guys about it, about saying the same. They're really not in the same spot, okay? They're in corresponding places, okay? Up here, this one's in the top left, 3 is in the top left. Let's do the rest of them. Let's do the rest of the corresponding angles. Angle 5. What's corresponding to angle 5? What is it? You said 3? You got your mouth in front of you. 8? 5 and 8? 5 and 7. Why 7? Because 5 is in the top what? Out of these 4, it's the top right. Which one's in the top right down here? 7. So 5 and 7 are corresponding. What about angle 2? Corresponding to angle 2. Angle 4. Corresponding to angle 6. Angle 8. Okay? Because 2 is in the bottom left, 4 is in the bottom left. 6 is in the bottom right, 8's in the bottom right. So they correspond to each other. We got it? I only give you 3 of them, so you're not going to use all 4 on the test. All right? But you need to know which ones are which. All right. This is along the same lines, but they tell you that these are parallel to each other. All right? So they are parallel to each other. I'll write them like this time, just to change it up a little bit. All right? So I could very well ask you, like, this will be number 5. Okay? I'll say, let's say angle 2. I'm just making this up. I'm trying to make these different than the test so you don't just memorize this and put it down on the test, all right? I know you would like me to just write down exactly what's on the test, but I'm going to write a little different. Okay, what if angle 2 was equal to, I don't know, let's make it easy. Let's say 60 degrees. And then I asked you to find, let's say angle 7. Find angle 7. On this one, you don't have to do any math at all. You just look at them. Look at angle 2. Look at angle 7. What's the relationship between 2 and 7? If I was going to go back to that numbers 1, 2, and 3. They're what? They're alternate exterior angles. What do I know about the alternate exterior angles? They're what? They're equal to each other, okay? So if angle 2 is 60 degrees, hope nobody's eating over there. I hear it sounds like somebody's getting into chips or something, okay? Better not eat. And I kind of smell it too. So close it up, put it in your book bag. So 2 and 7, okay, are alternate exterior angles, all right? Alternate exterior angles are equal to each other. So if angle 2 is 60 degrees, what's angle 7? It's also 60 degrees. Now look, even if you didn't know the relationship, like the alternate interior, alternate exterior, all that stuff, look at angle 2. What kind of angle is angle 2? Everybody's up here. Eyes up here. What kind of angle is angle 2 just by looking at it? It's an acute angle. What kind of angle is angle 7? It's an acute angle as well, right? What's true in this situation? When I have parallel lines cut by transversal, what's true about all the acute angles? They're equal to each other. What's true about all the obtuse angles? They're all equal to each other, okay? Now, what's the relationship between an acute angle and an obtuse angle in this situation? If I have an acute and I got an obtuse, what's the relationship between them? They're not equal. What's the only other thing that we've talked about in this? Say it. No, if you have an acute angle and an obtuse angle, what's true about it? What is it? They add up to 180. Exactly right. They add up to 180. Give me a good geometry word that we used. Supplementary, okay? So anytime you have an acute angle and an obtuse angle, they're always supplementary. Anytime you have two acute angles, they're what to each other? They're equal. Anytime you have two obtuse angles, what are they to each other? They're equal. Anybody listening? I see your eyes. I see you looking at me. I don't know if it's getting through. Is it getting through or not? So let's do another one. So 2 and 7 are both acute, so they're both equal. So if 2 is 60, then 7's got to be 60. Would you agree? All right. Let me ask you this. What's angle 1? Let's say angle 2 is 60 degrees. Let's find all the other angles. Let's find them all. So what's angle 1 going to be? Let's do this. Let's find all the acute angles. So angle 2 is 60, right? We already said angle 7 is 60. What else is 60? What else is 60? Angle 3. Why is angle 3 60 degrees? Because it's acute. That's right. So that's 60 degrees. What other angle in here is acute? Chris? It's angle 6. That's acute as well. It's less than 90 degrees, right? So that's got to be 60 degrees as well. So that was the easy part. So you know all the ones that are 60. What's angle 1 going to be? With this information that I give you right here, what's angle 1 going to be? It's obtuse, so it means it's what to 60? It's give me my answer though. I didn't ask you what it was. It's supplementary. That's right. So how did I get? You said 120. How'd you get 120? Yeah, but you went what? You went 180. What? Minus 60. That's how you got the 120, isn't it? Yeah. So this is supplementary, right? Look at it. It forms a straight line, doesn't it? So you know it's going to be supplementary because it's a straight line. So what's angle 1 equal to? 120. What's angle 4 equal to? Quickly. Come on. 120. What's angle 5? 120. What's angle 8? 120. Okay. Everybody with me on that? So that's how you find that. So that's numbers basically 4 through, I put 5 there. I don't know why I put 5. That was 4. So it's number 4 through 7 are kind of like this. All right? So you got to be able to look at an angle they give you and find an angle that they ask for. All right? Make sure you know all the acutes are equal, all the obtuses are equal, but an acute and an obtuse, what's the relationship between an acute and an obtuse? They're what? Supplementary, which means they add up to 180 degrees. If you know that, you can do 4 through 7. Okay, that's on the test, 4 through 7. Got a couple more. And then I'm going to do a little bit with the point stuff, okay? Because we got plenty of time. We got 25 minutes, okay? So the next two problems shouldn't take that long. So Here's what they give you. I'm just going to make up a number. Hopefully this will come out nice. I'll use all even numbers. It should work out. So let's say this is 2x minus 4. And let's say this angle is, I don't know, 50. Oops. Let's say it's 58 degrees. Okay? And the question says just solve for x. Find what x is. I've got to tell you one more thing. I've got to tell you that those are parallel. Okay? So everybody should be able to do this. Now, this is not one of the problems you just look at and say, oh, the answer is whatever. All right? But I want to find what x is. I got to solve for x. Well, look at the angles that they give me. Why didn't that change? There we go. Okay. So look at this angle right here and look at this angle right here. What's the relationship between them? What do I know about those angles? They're alternate what? Interior angles. And what's true about alternate interior angles? They're equal to each other. What's another way you could look at it? They're both what kind of angles? Obtuse or acute? What are they? It's acute. This is less than 90. What's this 58? It's less than 90. So what do I know about all the acute angles? They're what? They're equal to each other. Okay? Either way you look at it. You could look at it and say they're alternate interior angles. Yeah, they're equal. Okay? Or you could say, oh yeah, he told us all the acute angles were equal to each other, so they're equal to each other that way as well. Right? Either way you look at it, they're still equal to each other. So what am I going to do? Set them equal to each other. Exactly right. So I take this angle, 2x minus 4, and I set it equal to what? What's that angle equal to? 58. That's right. Everybody see this? No. This is more important. All right? You can take your jacket off, though. You're out of dress code. No, you can just take it off and put it on the seat behind you. So let's take a look at this. 2x minus 4. Don't talk. Just do it. Just do it. Just do what I ask. You're not doing it. You're not taking your jacket off. My word. Well, I guess you're stuck the rest of your life then because you can't get your jacket off. So, sorry. My goodness. Can't believe. Anyway, I'm not going to deal with this. Let's just do the math. Here we go. Let's solve for x. What's the first step we do? We've done this 1,000 times just in geometry class. Maybe not 1,000, but it seems like it. No, we don't get rid of the x. We get rid of what's being added or subtracted. So what do? We add a 4. No, we don't minus a 4. We do the opposite. The opposite of minus is plus. Okay? I'm sorry, I'm frustrated, but this is stuff that we have to know. I mean, technically, you should have known this when you walked in this door first day of school. I mean, everybody should have known this, all right? But I have taught it in here as if you never learned it before, okay? So just the fact of you being in my class for any amount of time, you should know how to do this. So I add a 4 to both sides, you add a 4 to both sides. That cancels. I've got a 2x, and that's what? 62. Divide by 2, and that is 31. So x is 31. And there you go. That's what that is right there. X is 31. That is my answer. It's not 31 degrees. You understand that? I'm not looking for that whole angle right here. I'm just finding what x is equal to. Okay, x is 31. 31 times 2 is 62. 62 minus 4 is what? 58. And it works, doesn't it? If I plug that in for x, these two are equal to each other just like they should be. All right. Make sure you know how to do your algebra. Okay, there's at least 3 problems on here. We're going to have to do a little bit of algebra. When I say a little bit, I mean a little bit. I mean, this is about, that's pre-algebra. That's like, what grade did you learn that in? Like 8th grade probably. Did you take pre-algebra in 8th grade? All right, maybe it wasn't called pre-algebra, but that's probably the stuff that you learned in 8th grade. All right, now you guys are in 10th grade, so you should know how to do those. But I've taught it in here. Even if you never saw it before in your whole entire life, we spent a lot of time doing some extra algebra stuff in here. All right. All right, let's see. This is 62 degrees, and this is 5x plus 8 degrees. These are parallel. Okay? All right, let's solve for x. It's just like it's kind of like, it's not just like, it's kind of like number 8, where you just have to solve for x. But you got to look at these two angles and find the relationship between them. On the last problem, number 8, the angles were equal to each other. Okay? Is the same thing true here? They're not equal to each other. What kind of angle is this angle right here? Well, just this angle right here. What kind of angle? Is it obtuse or acute? It's acute. What kind of angle is this angle down here? It's obtuse. So they're definitely not equal to each other. So absolutely, you will not set them equal to each other. Because look, that's way bigger than this. This is obtuse, this is acute, right? So they are not equal to each other. So what's my only other choice in this situation? That they add up to be what? 180, that's right. So let's do that. Let's take 5x plus 8. We're going to add it to the other angle, which is 62, and we're going to set them equal to 180. Because this angle and this angle are supplementary. They add up to be 180. And that's exactly what I did. I took this one and this one, the obtuse one and the acute one, I added them together and I set it equal to 180. That was the geometry. Our geometry basically is finished. Now we have to do a little bit of algebra. Judah, your top is not dress code. I'm going to start writing up if you guys don't come in dress code. Okay, you need to walk through that front door right there in dress code. Not come in here and then take off all the layers to be in dress code. You need to walk through that front door in dress code. All right, I'm going to start writing people up for that if you don't do it. I'm giving you grace right now, so you should be thankful for that. All right, what are we doing? I scooted all the way down there. I want that still there. All right, let's solve for x here. We got to do one step before we start getting rid of anything. Okay, I've got an 8 and I got a 62. They're like terms. So I always add the like terms. Okay, so I have to add those up first. So I'm just going to leave that 5x plus, what's 62 plus 8? That would be 70. All right, and that equals 180. So that's the first thing I need to do, is just add up all my like terms. Now I can do what I did in the other step, okay, which is subtract. It's being added, so I subtract it. On the other one, it was being subtracted, wasn't it? Do you see that? See, this one was being subtracted, so how do you get rid of a subtraction? You add it. On this one, it was being added. How do I get rid of an addition? I subtract it, all right? So it's a little bit different, but same idea. 5x, this cancels, equals, what's that, 110? And then divide by 5. Divide by 5. I think that's 22. X is 22, and that's your answer. That's all there is to it. What do you think? It's not too hard, is it? No. Really, from 1 through 9 is basically learning the same thing, all right? It's all this right here. So almost half of the test is this stuff right here. Alternate interior, consecutive interior, right? Acute angles equaling each other, obtuse angles equaling each other. The obtuse and the acute add up to 180. If you know that stuff that we just talked about, you should be able to get almost half of the test perfect. All right? So that's a good start. Would you agree? Yeah, absolutely. This is being recorded, so if you didn't get it today, okay, if you weren't paying attention, your mind was wandering, or you're sleeping, or whatever the case is, tonight, go and watch it, get your notes out, write them down. I say this knowing that maybe 3 people will actually do that, but surprise me, all right? Let's have every single person in here tonight go over this, look at the video, put it right in front of you, listen to the problem. Stop it before I show you how to do the answer, and then try it yourself. See if you get the same answer that I got. That's studying. Studying a math test is not just sitting there reading your notes. That is not studying for a math test. Studying for a math test is doing. You must do problems. Now, there is some part of just reading. So, for instance, like right here, corresponding angles, alternate interior angles. Yeah, you're going to have to know those, and you're going to have to, like, really, it's not a whole lot of memorization. Because what's true about corresponding angles? They're what to each other? They're equal. What's true about alternate interior angles? They're equal. Alternate exterior angles? They're equal. What's the only thing that's not equal? The consecutive interior angles. What are they, though? They're what? They're supplementary, okay? So that might take some just looking at and reading and just memorizing, knowing that all three of these are equal, but the consecutive interior angles are not. They're supplementary. All right, enough of that. Let's go to something we haven't talked about in quite a while, but it's going to be on the test. All right, this is number 10 on the test. It's find the distance between 2 points. So find the distance between let's just make something up. Let's go 6, 4. Let's go like 2, 1. Okay? So I want to find the distance between these 2 points. Well, this is something that I just talked about. This is something that you're going to have to look at and memorize. You must memorize this next thing in order to get this problem right. There's no way around it. There is no way you can just do some little trick that somebody teaches you to get the answer to this, except for knowing the distance formula. So let's write it down. The distance formula. Anybody remember how it starts? It's got a big old something. Square root. It's got a big old square root. Okay? You got to memorize it. Well, let's put a parentheses. Let's do this. Let's do the shell. Remember I talked about the shell of the formula? So let's do this. Let's put a parentheses and put a squared. Put a plus, and then what else are we going to put here? A parentheses and a squared. So that's what I would start off with. Before you put any x's and y's in it, that's exactly what I would do right here. Okay? So start off that way. It's just a matter of memorizing it. Every single person in here, maybe except for the ones that have their heads down on the desk, maybe every single person in here should be able to memorize this. All right? So you got to memorize it. So here we go. What do we put? Somebody said something about an x. X1 minus. That's right. That's a key. This is minus right here, x2. And it doesn't matter if the x1 goes first or the x2 goes first. It doesn't make any difference. Now, what do I put here? This is my x's. What am I going to put here? Do the same thing, but do it with the y's. It's really not that hard to memorize. At first glance, it looks like it. It looks like it's really crazy because you got that big old square root. But really, it's not that hard. It's basically 3, maybe 4 things, right? You subtract, well, it's more than that. But you subtract, you squared, you subtract, you squared, you add up, you take the square root. How many is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 different things you got to do. So, but it should make sense. So let's do it. Let's actually put the numbers in. Well, what numbers do I put where? What's what? Well, look at this. What's the 6 and the 4? That's my first point. So this is going to be my what? X1. This is going to be my Y1. This 2 is going to be my X what? 2. Thank you. This is going to be my Y2. So basically, it's just plugging numbers into a formula and then just working it out. But you got to memorize the formula. I am not going to give you the distance formula on the test. Everybody hear me? Okay, you have to memorize it. All right, hopefully that's clear to you. All right, that you have to memorize this. So I always start off with the shell. Okay, and now we can put the stuff in. All right, x1 minus x2. So we're going to take the x's, we're going to subtract them. Which ones are my x's here? Am I going to go 6 minus 4? No, because that's a y. I'm going to go 6 minus what? 2. So I'm going to put 6 minus 2. Really easy. Just take the x's, which are the first part, right? And then you subtract them. Let's take the y's and subtract those. So what are my y's? I got a 4 and I got a what? A 1. So I go 4 minus 1. You got to start there, okay? Now we just work this thing out. It looks complicated, but it's not near as complicated as what it looks like. Okay, first thing we do is we do the stuff in the parentheses. All right, so let's keep the big old square root there. All right, and let's do what's inside the parentheses. 6 minus 2, that's 4. Put it right there. 4 minus 1, that's 3. Put it right there. That was easy, wasn't it? Just subtract a couple little easy numbers? Sure. Now we have to do something that might be a little bit harder than what we just did, but it's not that hard if you know how to do these things. What's 4 squared? What does that mean, 4 squared? Does that mean 4 times 2? 4 times 4, that's right. We multiply it by itself. When you square something, you multiply it by itself. So it's 4 times 4. What is 4 times 4? 16. What do we do here? What's 3 squared? It's 9. 3 times 3 is what? 9. We're almost done. 2 little steps. Now I just add these two things together. 16 plus 9. Do you know what that is? It's 25. I'm not going to leave it like this, though, because I can take the square root of 25. This does simplify. What is the square root of 25? What times itself is 25? 5 is. So my answer is just 5. That's the distance between those 2 points. You don't have to graph it. All you got to do is throw the numbers into the distance formula. I can't imagine anybody explaining this any easier or simpler or more clear than what I just did. All right, so hopefully you took the notes on it. Now it's up to you. You have to go and look at those notes and learn how to do this. Find some problems in the book. Find the odd problems in the book where you have to do the distance formula. Why would you pick the odd problems? Because in the book, the answer's in the back to the odd problems. Exactly right. Okay, so do those. Do 2 or 3 of them. See how you do. What if this came out to some funky number like this, like square root of, I don't know, 41? Does that simplify to an easy number like this one did? No, because there's nothing times itself that's equal to 41. So how would you write your answer? You would just keep it like that. Okay? So you never know. It might come out where you can simplify it to a nice whole number, or it might come out where you just keep it under the square root. Okay. Yeah, we got time. Let's do some more. Number 11. We've done these fairly recently. All right, so this shouldn't be that tough for you because we have done it pretty recently. This one is the midpoint. Do you remember midpoint? We have a formula for that too. So there is a lot of memorizing that you have to do here. You got to know about all that alternate interior angle stuff. Okay, then you have to know the distance formula. Then you got to know the midpoint formula. What's the other formula that you're going to have to know, do you think? The slope. Know what the slope is, okay? So there is some memorizing that you have to do. So let's put, it's a mid what? Mid-point. So a point is always written down as an ordered pair. An ordered pair is a parentheses, right, with a comma in the middle. Everybody good? All right. So now it's a mid-point, middle. So what do we do to find the middle of something? We do what to it? The length. We divide it by what? 2. So this is how I start this formula off every single time. I put over 2 over 2, all right? Because I know it's a midpoint. So I got the point, which is the ordered pair. I got the mid, which is the divide by 2. But what am I dividing by 2? What do I put up here? It's kind of close to the distance, but a little different. It's going to be x1 and x2 again, but what are we going to do to them? This time we're going to add them. Okay, on the slope and the distance formula, you subtract the x's from each other. On the midpoint, you add the x's. This is something that I've said. Somebody watch the video and tell me how many times I've said this. But this is something that you have to memorize. All right? And what do we do here? This is the x, this is the y, so that should be pretty easy. You just take the y's and you add those together. So let's put some numbers in here. All right? Let's put the 0.64. I'm sorry. Let's do this. Let's go -2.5 and Let's say -6, -3. So what am I doing? Well, -2, 5 is a point, right? It's on a graph. So it's like a point right here. -6, -3 is a point like right here. So you connect the two, you get a line segment. What am I trying to do? I'm trying to find the point that's where? Halfway in between. Okay? Everybody see that? That's what we're doing. But do you have to graph it to find where the midpoint is? No, you don't. You don't have to graph it. Okay, you can just use this formula. This is the midpoint formula. So let's use it. So midpoint equals, put the ordered pair, put over 2. Does anybody do that every time that you write the midpoint formula? I tell you to do it. Hopefully you're doing it. So now, what do I want to do? I want to add the x's. Which ones are the x's here? Which ones are the x's? It's the first one, right? The first one of each ordered pair. So it's -2 plus what? -6. And now I add the y's together. So which one are my y's? It's always the second part of the point. So it's 5 plus what? It's not a 3. What is it? It's a -3. It's very important that you understand that when you have negatives here. So let's do this. -2 plus -6. I'm going to do this across. -2 plus -6. For time, I'm just going to tell you what it is. It's -8 over 2. All right, let's do the second part, the y part. 5 plus -3 is 2. Put that over 2. We don't leave the answer like that. You'll always, always, always simplify your fractions. What's -8 over 2? That's -4. What's 2 over 2? That's +1. That is your answer. That's the midpoint. Remember I said -2, 5 is up here, -6, -3 is down here. What's the midpoint? The halfway point is -4, +1. That's the point that's halfway in between those 2 points. All right, one more and we'll quit. Now I know I didn't get to the end of the chapter or the test. That's 11, yep. All right, but the other stuff we reviewed on Friday a lot, so I'm not going to go through that. Hopefully you took notes. I don't think I recorded that on Friday, but I did tell you to take notes, so make sure you do that. If you didn't take notes and you weren't here on Friday, go back to the lessons where I taught this stuff. Okay, you can find them. So this is find the slope. What letter do we use to find the slope? What letter is slope? It's M. This is the third thing you're going to have to memorize. All right, you got to memorize the distance formula, you got to memorize the midpoint formula, and you got to memorize how to find the slope. So how do we find the slope? It's rise over run, change in y over change in x. I say that all the time. Some of you probably have no idea what I'm saying if I say change in y. That means you subtract the y's from each other. It doesn't matter what order you subtract them in. It does not, as long as you subtract the x's in the same order. So if I went y1 minus y2, what do I do down here? x1 minus x2. That's your slope formula. You got to memorize it. So let's find the slope between a couple points. I don't know. Let's go 3, 7. All right. Let's find the slope between these 2 points. We've done this dozens of times, and that's not an exaggeration. That's literal. We've done this dozens of times. Find the slope between these 2 points. Subtract the y's from each other. All right, so let's go 3 minus 7. This is a y, that one's a y. So we subtract them from each other. Make sure you subtract the y's and the x's in the same order. So I'm going the first one minus the second one. And now I'm going to subtract the x's and put that on the bottom. So I'm going to go 1 minus 3. Let's figure out what this is. 3 minus 7 is -4. 1 minus -3 is -2. Simplify it, right? Negative over negative is positive. 4 over 2 is 2. That's the slope. I'll tell you real quick, I'm not going to do any problems like this, but number 13, you got to find the x-intercept and the y-intercept. Took a lot of time talking about that. And then 14, I give you an equation and you have to know how to put it into the slope-intercept form. We've had quizzes on this stuff. 15, Same kind of deal. It's just a little bit more, the math is a little bit more involved. The slope-intercept form again. And then 16 through 20, I give you 4 graphs that you have to graph, okay? I give you the graph paper and all that. Okay, 4 equations you got to graph. One of them, and I do this every time, one of them is x equals a number. The other is y equals some number. And then I have a couple where it's in slope-intercept form, okay? Or you might have to change it to slope-intercept form, which you had to do on one of these problems anyway, all right? So there's your test, 1 through 20. Some of these problems are so easy, you just look at them. Literally, I'm saying literally, it will take you 10 seconds to do numbers 1, 2, and 3, okay? And then you got the rest to do, and you have to do a little bit of work on the rest of them. All right, be ready for it.